Welcome back, Year 2. Now, we said that tone was the lightness or darkness of a colour. And today we're going to do a few exercises to practice making different tones. And so we're going to do quite a lot of shading. And this is what we're going to produce. So to do this, you need your sketchbook open at a clean page. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold your page in half. So you have two sections, open it out. And then you're going to draw a line just near the top. So you have two sections and then you have a big section underneath it, okay? And in the first box, we're just going to practice making different tones in lines. So we're going to hold our pencil as normal, and we're just first of all going to make the lightest line we did. This is a bit like what we were doing last week. So we make the lightest line we can with our pencil, pressing really lightly. And then at the other side of the box, do the darkest line you can using your pencil. And then in between those two lines, I want you to try and make the line get darker, gradually darker and darker and darker, just by pressing harder. And I might just try to see if I can make my line even lighter. Okay, so you can see I've made different tones by drawing lines. In the next box, we're going to practice our shading. Now, we started looking at shading last week. And if you remember, I said that when you shade, it's easier to move your hand out the pencil and to put your pencil on the side. And if you remember, you need to try not to leave any gaps when you're shading. So the first section we're going to do is as light as you can, really gently. Can you see my hand is going backwards and forwards? So really light shading, as light as I can, so I'm hardly touching the paper. And you see I've left no gaps in my shading. At the other end of the box, I'm going to do the darkest shading I can by pressing much harder with my pencil. And look at the difference between those two sets of shading. And then in the middle, I'm going to see if I can get gradually darker, leaving no gaps in my shading. Let me try see if I can get even darker. And then even darker, pressing harder gradually. And then one more. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tones. Okay, so now in the next section, in fact, I'm going to draw another 2 boxes underneath. And in the next section here, I'm going to try making different tones using circles. So a really light circle, and at this end, a really dark circle. And in between, the circles are going to get darker and darker. I might try again. Start with a dark circle, and a very light circle over here, and see if I can get lighter this time. Okay? Different tones again. In the next box, I'm going to practice my shading, but this time I'm going to draw boxes to shade into. And this just helps me to make sure that my shading stays in one area, and I can practice making my shading as neat as possible. So I've done my 6 boxes, and then again using the side of my pencil, filling up the box. Now, because I've got a square that I don't want to go past, it's now better to do my shading in sections. Okay, so I can carefully fill each section step by step. A little bit darker. So then I'm going to do the section at the bottom first, then move on to the next part. You never want to do really big sections all at once when you're shading, because then it will become messy and uneven. So if you just work in a small area at a time. Okay, and you can carry on in this box until you get to the darkest section. Again, just do a little area at a time and move on. It takes time. Okay, and you need to concentrate quite hard to do this so you don't go over the lines and so you make sure there are no gaps in your shading. Okay, so I will leave you to fill in those other tones in that section. In the last section on the page, I'm going to ask you to draw a tonal snake. And this is how we go about drawing a tonal snake. You're going to draw the head of the snake just diagonally in that corner. Give him a tongue, give him some eyes, and then do a nice dark line across. And then you're going to practice shading. You might start lightly and then gradually start to press harder and harder and harder, and you can see the tone getting darker and darker. I'm going to stop there and I'm going to do a really dark tone across my snake. Okay, now I'm going to start again, and this time he's going to get a thin body. And then he's going to get darker and his body's going to get thicker and the tone is getting darker. Okay, and then a nice dark tone at the end. Now in this section I'd just like you to try out doing lots of tonal snakes, because the more practice you get at changing the tone gradually, the better you will get year 2. So the more you practice, the better. And so this is just your space to practice making different tones. You might want to do one here, you could do one here. It's up to you to decide. But this page today is all for practicing tones, the lightness or darkness of a colour. So good luck year 2, and I will see you later. Bye bye.